And Joshua Schmidt was very, very public about the fact that he really likes the Vanquish Soul deck. He has basically already said a couple weeks ago, it is almost 90% sure that I will be bringing this deck to the tournament. But there is, first of all, Johannes using the first card here in the standby phase, being Mulcharmy Purulia.
And I want to be honest with you, Purulia, I wasn't expecting so many people to play Purulia in the main deck. However, it has been incredible the whole weekend.
Oh, he just passed it over. Zero motions by Joshua, besides a little hand wave over to Johannes. That Purulia either completely shut him down or there were no plays anyways.
Oh, that is Fiendsmith Sancted. There is multiple things to note about this. This is, of course, a decent starter for the Fiendsmith engine. But then again, you can only attack with light Fiend monsters in this turn. So that means the chances of Joshua Schmidt getting another turn here are really, really high. And you can already see it as soon as Joshua Schmidt just nears himself to a featured match table, the entire venue is filled. And there's Fualos being activated here.
Step by step, Charmy for Charmy, but there's Called by the Grave on the Fuvalos, and so no draws have been given for the Mulcharmy Purulia for Johannes, but also no draws now for Joshua through the Fuvalos.
I think Mulcharmy was very much to be expected here on the side of Josh.
Yeah, agreed, for sure.
If you're passing to Purulia, it probably means that you have decent amount of non-engine and that you might have Mulcharmys as well, which makes the decision easier.
To be honest, I was not expecting Johannes to activate Cold here since he has Ice Blossom in his hand. So it was a very interesting choice, and I want to understand his thought on this, because maybe he wants to establish a midboard and then have more defenses like Ash Blossom, I guess, the Vanquish Soul.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, technically a card you can normal summon. Maybe you need to do that eventually in case you want to go for some other plays, but there is now Mulcharmy Meowth, and now it makes even more sense that Joshua didn't play any cards on the first turn, as if you, looking at the main deck here, count correctly, 8 Charmies in the main deck for him. That's a crazy high amount, but this one not going to resolve as Johannes still has that Ash Blossom and Joy Spring in his hands.
Meowth also has the advantage of being an Earth monster, even though you're most of the time not lacking Earth as the attribute to reveal this card. Of course, still helps there. And also the Mulcharmys, let's be honest, they are going to draw you into more of those cards. Discarding it not before a summon, but before the Necroquip Princess can be summoned. Just so you avoid the Necroquip draw.
I really love how Joshua is still on the zone, meaning that he got Purulia, then passed there with Fugalos Meowth, and he got Called by the Grave and Ash Blossom, and he's very chill and still on the zone trying to find the best way to...
I think with Joshua, really, we all know him. He's such a likable guy, always open to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! But when we saw him here step up to the stage, you really recognize how in the zone he is, how much he is destined to deliver this weekend. He wants to be the European champion on top of all the accomplishments he already has. And now we see Sword Riser coming down for Johannes, and that is the Norman Summon, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep, that is still going to be a rather minimalistic combo here, if I'm correct, because the X is not going to be able to search here.
True.
That's a little bit of a problem with Sang, to be honest. You're playing less breaks, so you're not playing Tracked with Lurry there, you're not playing into Droll and Lockbird with those cards, but still it forces you to activate it when you have nothing on the field, so you kind of disturb your Ryziel engine a little bit.
You're saying minimalistic combo, but I see
sure
everything going
it's not
for Johannes right now.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a massive Ryziel endboard here, but you can definitely go Habakewi. That's going to help.
Certainly, and Joshua, just the 3 cards in hand. We know the Vanquish Soul strategy is good when it can profit off of a lot of cards, but it can chain 2 things and so on and so forth in the hand. But the lower the amount of cards in hand gets, the tougher it also gets for the deck to really get rolling.
Basti, how many Ryziel cards can we see in Johannes' deck? Is he playing Node?
Let me check. There is absolutely no Node Ryziel in his deck. It's a really small package. It's called Mitsurugi Ryziel, but it's really not that many Ryziel cards in there. There's only 1 Sword Ryziel, only 1 Ice Ryziel as well. So it's really just the 4 Ryziel main deck monsters, with of course the 2 X Ryziels being the best ones out of them.
It's exactly enough that if you start with Ice Ryziel, you can special summon out Detonator and the King of the Feral Imps.
Oh yes, and that's
And
what
to
we
be
did
honest,
with it.
having Fiendsmith also in his deck is probably the reason that he doesn't have much space about more Ryziel cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Johannes has basically been playing a very, very similar deck to this already at the German National Championship. And he's an expert in throwing out big names out of the tournament, because there, also on featured match, I can tell you, he threw out Dinka Bui out of Top Cut. So is this another big name falling to Johannes?
And I've seen a very, very similar list, but he plays one card differently to that list, and that is the Night Sword Serpent, and this card can become so super relevant. But we're sending Aramasa to the graveyard here.
Indeed, and also Kusanagi. Kusanagi immediately going to get the ritual back into the hand. Serpent still in deck, as we just saw there. Him browsing through it. Also another tendency lately with this deck. And I think Johannes was an innovator on that as well. Playing triple Mitsurugi Ritual in this super big pile out of 3 engines. Still valuing that card highly enough that you want to include the full amount of it.
Yep, if you're playing a big Mitsurugi engine, it helps you just play through hand traps and other interactions. Now you're going to see what makes this deck so strong. You get so many pluses off of summoning Habakiri. Now you get even more out of tributing it for Murakumo. Sometimes you can even do that before the first search. So if the Droll Lockbit would be activated, you have Prayer set up, you have Murakumo, and you get to even discard another card from your opponent's hand.
Magatama in the main deck as well. That is one that I did not see coming, I gotta admit. Interesting to me.
And I mean, at this point, I have to say that it's not so much a minimalistic field, to be honest, as we was expecting earlier. However, Josh, we have to remember that he got Purulia, so he still has a lot of cards in his hand, and probably only engine in order to play, I guess, this field that Johannes has established.
Yeah, this field just looks like almost full combo, which is fine. And now Josh is going to normal summon the resin. It's not going to give him a draw. Magatama chained immediately here, which might mean that we don't even have a way to tribute our Murakumo in the future. Ooh. Are we considering a heavy Borga? I mean, there's still a Caesar on there. Resin gets destroyed, but gets to resolve. Quite curious to see what is going to be searched there.
Probably Su, I suppose. I mean, it's the logical assumption.
But I mean, Holy Su just doesn't really do a lot versus wave hiking Caesar. The Caesar is pretty strong against
Vanquish.
Vanquish Soul, yeah. And I mean, Johannes didn't even get to go first, but Purulia just ended the turn of Josh. I mean, he had the resin in hand. Maybe he didn't have the resin in hand. Maybe this was his 6th draw. Because I think if you're just going to normal summon resin, search a follow-up like Holisu or Jiaolong for the next turn, and you go into a Rock Vanquisher, then you're fine, right?
He had 2 Malcharmis though. So
yeah, true.
He got Purulia and then passed with Meowth.
Okay, guys, let's quickly bring it over to us here in the commentary area again, because there's one thing that the judges want to check real quick. Therefore, quickly over to our side here, and we can, of course, talk a little bit more about the inclusion of that Magatama there in the main deck, because that card is so versatile, right? But with all those different engines deciding to also run this card, I'm curious how he could even fit it into this deck.
I mean, I find it also quite cool because when you're sending Aramasa after the ritual to summon from hand, you can search for the Futsu and then summon that one on the opposing turn if you didn't get to summon it on yours, if you don't have access to Mirror.
And I mean, it kind of reminds me of Malice in the Mirror, that it's a very good card, a quickly spell that can be activated both going first and going second, and utilize it in order to either break fields or establish a very good turn 1 field.
Let's think about the specific matchups there, though. Against what matchups do you need the Magatama? Where is it really, really crucial to have it? One thing I kind of like is maybe against Vanquish Soul to, in the draw phase, already destroy rocks sometimes. That could be kind of cool. Is that something?
I mean, if you set it up with a half field against the deck, you can also go for the Vanquish Soul start, which really hurts the deck in some situations. I just think this is one of those cards where it's amazing that it's super flexible and that it can help break any field. Because the Mitsurugi cards, I think Mitsurugi plus Malice maybe, it's the only deck that can really play through big fields right now. And if you're adding more and more of those cards that can help you break fields in engine, this just adds so many layers to the deck. Some people also I mean, Joshua Schmidt did it as well in the pure Mitsurugi deck. Add Wuzu to the deck. It's tough to play with Wuzu if you're also playing Fiendsmith and Ryziel, but you get the drill. The deck can use its own engine to play through fields, and with cards like this that are also really strong going first as well. If you actually get to combo off a lot, you might be able to set up a Prayers or a Futsu and the Magatama, and then you have even more interactions with your opponent, which also helps you play through certain hand trips.
Yeah, and I mean, if I have to think about a deck in the current format that can easily go second with only engine cards, probably Mitsurugi, in order to play under any field at the moment.
All right. Yeah, I do absolutely get that. But at that point, you're including against so many cards that just don't work well together with each other, right? Because Magatama on its own, you just don't really can afford to draw it. Isn't that correct? Because it doesn't pair really well with other cards. It doesn't make you play. Sure, being versatile with it is kind of cool, but I'm still not 100% sold on it, to be honest. As a side deck card, 100%. You want to have it in some situations, going first especially. But just in the main deck?
I think it doesn't have enough impact to be a side deck card, and I think it's a very flexible card to side out, which also adds something to it that it's not good enough to be in the deck after siding if you want to side out multiple cards. I really like that this card just helps you play as well. Sometimes it gets you to do a ritual summon.
Yeah.
I really like it in the main deck. It's a flexible card.
So I think, Leo, that you used to play this deck actually in when you're competing for events. What do you think? Would you recommend playing in the main deck or not?
Oh, I really like the card in the main deck. I love cards that add you some more tools, sometimes even if your opponent is not expecting those cards, and just adding a little bit more of a layer. Basti.
Another layer is our feature match having here, because we are back and ready. Let's go back over to the table with the game one continuing now.
Alrighty, then we still see Jiaolong in hand, so we pick up exactly where we left off. Jiaolong added to hand from Resin effect. Resin was destroyed by Magatama. We're about to witness Habakiri effect, probably.
Does look like it. And we shall continue.
Or we shall continue, question mark. Just like
there
the
we go.
Vexel.
Looks like Jiaolong there.
All right, so we added to the hand, right? Because we haven't revealed anything yet.
Yes.
Now, Johannes, remember that you have Habakiri. Of course, a player like Johannes Bauer does not forget those effects.
No. He has also a clear vision, maybe going to the World Championship this year. Every person now remaining of the tournament is in a decent spot. I mean, 32. How many more matches do you have to win? 32, 16, 8. 3 more matches. That's, I want to say, almost easier than winning on the points playoff on Friday. There you had to win like 4 matches, but now it's only 3 matches that you have to win.
I mean, given that they have already won about 11.
They won 11 matches, yeah.
Elf is the German word for 11. I don't know what came back there. But, Holly Sue is activated. Jiaolong is activated. Caesar is empty now. Josh picks up the cards. Johannes Bauer wins game 1 here against the world champion and world's runner-up, Joshua Schmidt.
That is not the start that Josh was hoping for, going first and then seeing no plays. Do we think he played around the Purulia? Because I feel like with Vanquish Soul, you just, like, when you have access to Raisin, certainly you're going to normal summon it out, right?
He got jebaited by Meowls and by the Fuwalos in his hand.
Maybe that, yeah, you're right. And then you want to pass as well.
Yeah, it was the Multi-Charmigors there. But as we saw, Johannes had a Call by the Grave and Ash Blossom in order to stop both of the Multi-Charmis.
That's massive.
And keep in mind as well, if you're playing Fuwalos and Meowls and you have gone first and your opponent gets to play into it, can try to OTK you. With Vanquish Soul, you can just draw cards like Holisu that have so high impact. You get to play on your opponent's turn as well.
Totally.
You just summon... I think even had Holisu in hand already, which makes this even more of a good point, where you can add Jiaolong and then you can special summon out Resin, and Resin goes for the Caesar Valius, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get a take and a pop on the opposing turn.
That is definitely true. While players are side-taking, why don't we have a look at who else? We said the number 32. Who else is still left in here? Let's have a quick look at the bracket. See who is still competing in here, who's still trying to make their way into the World Championship. Let's see. There we have them. Samuel Bebu actually last year made it to the World Championship, to the European Championship, and is on his way to maybe do it again. That's crazy.
Learning combos on the plane on the way to Berlin. And then, of course, we have Ole, who is a German duelist, doing a decent job. I just saw him win some games with a Ghost Ogre. That was something that caught his opponent off guard.
Nice, and we have Georgi Danev as well. I remember him playing Telemans. I don't think he's with that deck anymore, but still, of course, a very strong player. And then let's look at more of the bracket in here. Flaminio Rossi, reigning Italian national champion, is also in there, possibly the next opponent of this matchup right here.
Yep, and I think it says Joshua Schmidt won versus Johannes Bauer already.
Yeah, we know that is not the case. We clearly see them still there on the table. That's not the case just yet. We have Herman Hansen in there as well. We have so many great names still left in this. And we also, of course, want to see who's making it in the end. We still have Paul Robert Goss, who also was on feature yesterday, looking really strong. But I think for the very moment, there's two players to focus on. We want to make sure to not miss out on any action here because Joshua Schmidt is on feature, but he is in desperate need of 2 game wins in a row as he just dropped the first game against Johannes Bauer. But as players are ready, back to the table we go. Let's get into the second game now.
I was already a little afraid that we jumped back in time and we have basically missed that matchup, jumped in front of the time. Joshua is now going to be able to start again. Is there going to be a Mulchami Perulia again for Johannes? I don't know, he's hovering over his cards. No, Pot of Extravagance is a really nice start. It's something that you kind of need to Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring because otherwise this deck is immediately running away with card value.
And to be honest, it's a very good check for both Perulia and Fugalos, since Johannes probably, if he has Fugalos or Perulia, would change it to Extravagance in order for Josh not to find an out, Ash Blossom, cross out, or Call by the Grave.
Totally agree. I talked a little bit with Lorenzo Muselli about that Pot of Extravagance, and he just said consistency is a little bit of an issue for this deck, but also this card now makes Droll and Lockbird a lot better, actually. But there's Triple Technic Talents. Let's have a look, says Josh. And that hand is offering prayers and pre-preparation of rites. If we have something like Ash Blossom, just taking out one of them and stopping the other seems pretty appropriate. But do we have? Because both cards on their own can do so much.
If you have Droll and Lockbird, you definitely take away the prayers because pre-preparation of rites just plays heavily into it. I think otherwise you take away the pre-preparation of rites because it just adds extra value. Alright, so I'm guessing no Droll and Lockbird here. Card has a useless attribute for Vanquish Soul anyway, so maybe we don't even play it. But now Joshua Schmidt, the deck doesn't have too many problems with Droll and Lockbird as long as you can get a Rock the Vanquisher onto the field. The deck can just play on your turn.
I love how Josh kept on staring at those 3 cards, trying to remember them as best as possible, trying to adjust his game plan for this very moment. And again, only 2 set cards. Both games so far, Joshua, very little that he can do. But now back to Johannes. Is that a draw phase, Mitsurugi Prayers angle? It is a lightning storm off the top! Going after those 2 set cards. Shaning shared right to it though. So that's cool.
We have talked a lot about Mistaken Arrest being cards in the meta. However, Share Right is a very good option for Vanquish Soul in order to gain advantage instead of a Mistaken Arrest, for example, that would also stop them from gaining any more value.
Why wasn't Prayers chained to the Shatrite?
I was also wondering that. Then a little T-set after from Johannes. That is funny to see. That is such a 2009 thing to do, I want to say. But we are here in 2025, and that is the technology that Johannes has chosen here.
Oh so you believe that Joshua plays around Rico right now, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
I think Joshua Schmidt is just having the most unplayable hand I have ever witnessed in my entire life. And now, Johannes, this looks like a pass. I think this is end phase. Mitsurugi Prayers for Johannes Bauer. It looks like Joshua Schmidt is not able to play at all. And now it is just on Johannes to try and finish this game against a world champion, against a world champion runner-up and a 3rd place in the TCG division as well.
Indeed, so many big accomplishments on the side of Joshua. All of those, of course, in some of those moments don't help you because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game that is played in the very moment. You have to draw the right cards and you have to make the right moves. at the right time. And at the moment, Joshua doesn't get any of those moves going. And now the normal summon of Aramasa for Johannes.
I think the hand that Josh had was 3 times the same copy of Jorland Lockbird. This card, of course, stops you a little bit.
I mean, imagine drawing a 6th card for 10-3 and also 2 cards from Extravagance and still to not see any play in your deck.
I was also quite curious to see why Johannes didn't tribute the Serpent. Or, wait, if it's cost, then it doesn't return. That makes a lot of sense. Never mind me.
And we do go ahead, activate. It looks like Habakiri was just activated the pendulum scale, but that's just Johannes' way of signalizing that we are activating and resolving the effect. The card, of course, still in the hand where it is now again. Activates the effect of Kusanagi and also the effect of Serpent. So that's 3 level 4 monsters even on the field now. It's looking pretty for Johannes.
Yep, and now we are under Jorland Lockbird, but this deck has a technology against that, and you can just go into the Fiendsmith engine. You don't play too many of those cards in the main deck, you play 3 Fiendsmith cards, but they are enough to cause some serious kerfuffle.
We go into Moon of the Closed Tavern, and even though there's not that many Fiendsmith cards in the main deck, it is complemented very well by a huge amount of Fiendsmith cards in the extra deck. Essentially the full package. He's even playing Agnum Day and Desiree. He really is leaning in on those Fiendsmith cards, and he really wants to have the full toolbox from those available in his extra deck.
And I mean, in this simplified game state, that you know that your opponent is desperate for a top deck, Fiendsmith is the right time in order to pop off and give you a constant grind and coming back to life all the time.
Ooh, hold on though. Maybe some hope with Bestial Magnamut on the Fiendsmith Engraver. That can hurt a lot. Activates the Bestial Magnamut because technically we could add something from the graveyard. Currently there is nothing in there though, but maybe somehow until the end of the turn there could be something going into the graveyard.
Maybe someone summons Zombie Vampire.
You never know, right?
But now what can Johannes do? Because the 2,500 attack points here actually pose a big threat. Goes into the SP. Little Knight considers it at least, because Necroprincess, of course, is a fusion monster. You're going to be able to banish the Magnamut. I mean, he's only actually playing 1 Fiendsmith Engraver, if I'm not mistaken. So this Magnamut was so good.
Josh gets another chance. Is this the top deck he needs? Is this Raisin when you need it the very most? Maybe Stake Your Soul or something similar? Can we finally get our Vanquish Soul cards rolling?
Just needs something to play with. Joshua Schmidt is in dire need of a starter to his Vanquish Soul strategy. He said it before, he really likes the deck. Now, does the deck like him in the moment? Dr. Madlove being normal summoned. I think that's a very reasonable chain SP Little Knight angle if you don't want to respond directly to it with another card.
For sure, I do agree. You want to make sure that you get those cards off of the table. And yes, SP Little Knight, for the very moment, transfers both of these monsters into the banishment.
You have Vanquish Soul start now, but this card doesn't start the Vanquish Soul engine on its own because you need another monster on the field, like Dr. Madlove, and you don't have that anymore. So SP Little Knight, very well used there by Johannes.
The name almost feels like false advertisement, right? Because it really isn't a start, but it's just good if you combine it with something else. But now no attributes on the field anymore to be used with it, so we can make no use out of it. There comes a Vanquish Soul start. Of course, we can still use the effect to set something in the end phase, which I think...
Only if we have 2 Vanquish Soul monsters.
You're so right.
Wait. Or if there's 2 monsters.
Yeah, it needs to.
But also, what is the Snow Devil doing here? It's also not really helping too much. Mitsurugi Prayers is activated. Habakiri is tributed in the end phase. That is so many searches. This is going to summon out another monster that searches or adds back something. You could go Kusanagi, add back the Prayers. This is just everything for Johannes.
It really is, and Johannes now, you can really tell by his motions, he's looking more and more confident, still in the zone, but recognizing and realizing maybe that this might be another moment where he gets to knock out one of the biggest names in all of Europe out of a big tournament.
And to be honest, at the current game state, as I understand, Johannes has not any more of the Fiendsmith engine, since probably he doesn't have Lacrima in his deck, and Engraver is banished.
I think that was a really funnily used Droll and Lockbird there, yes. We prevented the Aramasa surge there essentially, so that Droll and Lockbird
and Habakiri
worked like a... Oh yeah, true, both of them actually, yeah, that was pretty nice.
I think that's a sign that says that I saw it right earlier. This might be a triple Droll and Lockbird hand for Joshua Schmidt right there. That is not something you can really play with. Saji is now being normal summoned. You can add with Saji gets the Mitsurugi ritual or maybe something else. Maybe goes for prayers. Of course, you haven't used it yet. You can just tribute something and then add another time for Aramasa and then special summon out the Kusanagi from the graveyard. You can just do whatever you want right now.
Indeed, true. Joshua not looking super happy with the situation right now, and I mean, we all understand why, because Johannes clearly in the driver's seat right now. It was top 32 at the French National Championship that Joshua attended, where he got knocked out. Is it going to be top 32 again here also at the European Championship? The last and remaining Droll and Lockbird, empty-handed now, Joshua, but at least Johannes also prohibited from searching further cards.
And I mean, right now, Johannes has full knowledge about Josh Fields and hand, so I think it's pretty much it, to be
Yeah, you can
honest.
see the entire hand. It's just his hand. There is no cards in the hand whatsoever. There is a Mad Love on the field that can't even be protected by Vanquish Soul Start because there is nothing in hand. And even if Joshua Schmidt gets to top deck something, if he gets another turn, the Vanquish Soul cards, they need a certain form of card advantage. They work the best when you have multiple cards in hand already.
But still, you see Joshua smiling there. I think Johannes and Joshua are quite friendly with each other, so I think Joshua will also be happy for Johannes if he can maybe, because he is lacking that big tournament run. You have said it. He has topped a decent amount of tournaments here in Germany at the very least, but he did not have this breakout run just yet.
Yeah.
And then that breakout run being maybe his qualification to the World Championship, that would be indeed the breakout then.
Maybe Joshua Schmidt also just remembered that he is in fact going to the World Championship as part of Team Night Panthers again and was like, hey, I'm going with my friend. That's cool.
That is pretty alright indeed.
So Johannes changed prayers into the effect of Droll to add Ameno in his hand.
At this point, you also, especially if it's still 22 minutes on the clock, you want to make sure that every motion you're doing is correct. Just don't take too much time here. I would have also, I could have enjoyed a early duo drive and no effect of Saji to play around the third Droll and Lockbird. But who plays around the third Droll and Lockbird?
That is something you definitely don't do very often.
We just go duo drive regardless here, as it seems.
I mean,
Well,
gets
tech
our
points.
monsters a little bit bigger, right? That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Oh, look, we go into the battle phase.
All right.
Attack over the Dr. Madlove. And I mean, Joshua is on so little cards. So it feels like this may very well be enough anyhow. And
And as we discussed yesterday, if Vanquish doesn't have a lot of attributes to reveal in the hand, are kind of in a very bad spot, to be honest.
that is the handshake! Johannes Bauer defeats Joshua Schmidt and therefore is one of the last remaining 16 players in the tournament.
He banished all of the 3 Rock of the Vanquisher with the extravagance as well. This game was just not for Josh to win. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And Johannes Bauer is advancing even further in the tournament. I was being a little bit ahead of myself earlier saying that he goes to Worlds with his friends because there's still 2 more rounds for Johannes to play to win until he gets a ticket to the World Championship in Paris.
Entering the top cut, you need a sign to see if you have also the luck with you in order to be the champion. And as we just saw, I think that Josh had exactly the opposite, unfortunately. He drew 3 draw, he drew 3 cards with extravagance and his turn 3 draw, and yet he could not find a valid play.
Yeah.
That is absolutely correct, and therefore another top added to the resume, right? The endless list of accomplishments from Joshua Schmidt keeps on being even getting longer, and therefore no need to be sad. World Championship coming very soon as well, so probably all eyes on that for him now. But for us, of course, for the rest of the day, we still have some more people to be sent. I think the backup featured match is also still running for the very moment. I think there is Sky Strikers, one of our most favorite decks of all time, is also still left in the competition. And I hope we are going to be able to see some of that after as well. But of course, before that, before we get into the backup feature match action, we want to hear from Johannes first, of course. So we will go step by step, and then we will see whether we can show you some more gameplay action from that. And overall, just so many good good players left in there.
I think we can already tease a little bit from this backup feature match because we are currently seeing this on our second screen. And Sky Striker is really popping off right now against an opponent who's running Sky Striker sleeves.
Gotta love to see it. That's how you do it. That's the spirit. All eyes on Sky Strikers. And I mean, that would be cool. Seeing Sky Striker after such a while qualify to the World Championship again, I would love it.
Yeah, it's also probably a good deck at the World Championship as well.
Surely.
So maybe that could be the story. But right now the story is that Johannes Bauer defeated Joshua Schmidt in the feature match of top 32 of EU WCQ. So let's hear it from him.
Thanks so much, Liam. Here with Johannes, winner of top 32. Congratulations for the win over Joshua Schmidt. How do you feel about it?
I'm very happy, although I think I played it a bit sloppy during the game too, because I was a bit anxious.
Yeah, but also I think Josh Hand spoke for itself because he drew triple draw and lockbird, so I think it was very unfortunate for him as well, but in the end you managed to seal it and advance into the top 16, so congratulations.
Thanks.
How's it been so far at the event? How do you feel with your deck?
It's been pretty fun, met a lot of cool people, a good time, I guess. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, why did you decide to bring Mitsurugi Raziel to this event? Do you think it was the best deck?
I think the Mitsurugi deck has the best options into the Mulchamis, and during this event most people played multiple Charmies in the main deck, so I guessed it was the right choice for that.
And so far it is. So I would just like to show you the first clip, because essentially here in game one we have Josh activating the Fuvalos here, and basically you chain the Cold by the Grave on it. And I think from them there's also the Miol into Ash. So I think you were, pretty happy with it, right?
So I had two Ash Blossoms deck, but even though Ash Blossom is like once per turn and you want to kind of use it earlier to have it for the opponent's turn, the other copy, in this case I figured that if he had a Holy Zoo or similar, I could Ash that, but I can't Cold by that, so that's why I figured I wanted to hit that. Also, I thought he probably didn't open a good play, so preventing the draws would prevent him from drawing into the Vanquish Soul hand trap monsters.
Exactly, especially because you essentially Borrelia and he passes, right? So as you mentioned, maybe his end was not so good. And I just want to show you essentially the ending field plus the Nagatama, which is something that basically most players don't expect. And I think you're pretty satisfied with this ending field, right? Because essentially you are pretty much more protected. I think you also had an Ash Blossom, something else in hand, right?
Yeah, I had a second Ash Blossom, as I said, yeah.
And I think overall, here Josh is essentially trying to navigate this, but I think you had too many interruptions, essentially.
If he doesn't open any engine cards and can't draw into them with the Charmies, it's pretty tough.
And winning game one, how do you approach game two? Like, what are your feelings about Vanquish? How do you feel about this type of matchup?
I think the matchup can be pretty rough, because the Mitsurugi cards try to destroy the opponent's monsters, but the trap of the Vanquish Soul, with the feed spell, I don't know the exact name, prevents destruction of the monsters, so after that you have to remove them with like Engraver effect and similar, or like Little Knights, Dunamondo, non-destruction.
And here for the next highlight in game two, here essentially there's the Extravagance being activated. You essentially drawn a lock as well, but then there's the Talent being activated. Your hand was not so good, I think, but Josh's end, I think, was even worse.
Yeah, this was close to it. Was a situation which I didn't think through that much. When I top decked the Lightning Storm and he used the Arrest, I could have thought more about chaining the prayers to give one draw for a play.
Yeah.
So that was something I
you could have thought
didn't
about.
think about enough. I think.
But I also feel like that once you start getting the Finsmith's combo on, then there was the Magnamod coming from Josh, which, I think it was the sort of interruptions that it was really, here, we can find it very soon.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead, please.
But, this was the next turn after that, where I top deck an Ash Blossom, so I knew that I just had to go into some kind of grind engine with the Fiendsmith, so even if he hits this, I take away his hand cards, and his one card isn't a starter in the next top deck, I can just Ash Blossom, so having the engine is a win-win, I feel.
And then, yeah, for the last highlights, I just wanted to, let you see the third drawn lock being drawn by him. But I think from this point on, it was also quite clear for you because, like, he's left a top deck. So there are very few options for him available. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Once again. Hopefully we will see you again on stream. So good luck for the top 16 as well.
Okay.
And thanks so much for watching. But don't go anywhere because we will be back to the casters.